Hello, everyone. Welcome to .NET user group. I think recording started, so you should be hearing me as well. So this is .NET user group. We will try to do like every once or second month some sessions. Marcus is not here with us, and I forget to add Wagner as Microsoft folk here. So I'm one of the organizers of .NET user group. I work at Arinco. Arinco and Microsoft is sponsoring this event. Microsoft is giving us the venue. Thanks for them. This is really hard to get by a good venue. And Arinco is sponsoring the pizza that we were nearly not delivering, getting it today. So yeah, I'm talking myself today, just myself, not nobody else. We're gonna do a bit deep dive today about .NET Aspire. But before that, a bit of housekeeping. So code of conduct, long story short, just please be good to each other, be kind. Otherwise, if someone is not nice to you, come to me, or don't try to resolve it yourself. Come to find me or one of other hosts. Ricky and Wagner are the other Microsoft hosts. So we are here, and I can use mouse. So as you guys can see, the rubbish is here. The coffee machine is here. There's another coffee machine here. You guys passed that when you are coming here. There's first aid kit. There's fire extinguisher here. Toilets are on the both sides of the elevators, but there's a trick. Someone got locked today already. So if you go to the toilet, you cannot get out. So you need one of those. Davin, give that card back, please. One of those key cards. We have them at the door. So when you come back, don't be Davin, please put it back. Shame on you. Nobody see your face anyway. So yeah, if you don't have that, you can get in, but you cannot get out. If that happens, you can go downstairs, but you can't go up. So if you have, so take that card and please bring it back. In case of emergency, those are the assembly line, and we follow that yellow path for exit, so green path, sorry. Something happened, just follow Wagner and Ricky. They work here. They know better than us. So I'm working for Arinco, and Arinco is hiring. We are looking for modern work consultants and data consultants. So if you know anyone want to work in the area, something. When you are done, these key cards, not key cards, these plastic badges, including the paper in it, please leave them at the reception. Don't take the paper as well. You can take a photo of QR code. You will need the QR code to get out of the building as well, not just get in. Yeah, also, if you want to talk in this meetup, please scan this QR code and register your interest. I will share this QR code again later. And any feedback is welcomed. Feedback is welcomed. My English is leaving me, hopefully. So yeah, we're gonna talk about Aspire today. Who knows Aspire? Who heard Aspire? Okay, some people. Who use Aspire actively? Okay, maybe from today you might start using. Okay, so I'm gonna move this to my other window and trying to do something here. Sorry, guys. Okay. So I know you guys cannot see it yet. All right. So what is Aspire? Aspire, by the definition, initially was opinionated distributed application development framework. If we go Chrome, And if we go aspire.dev, that's their website. If we go to docs, oh, it's going pretty bad. So, but initially they come up with opinionated distributed application development framework, but they, improve it or change it a bit, and it become like unified development experience, code first configuration. And it is not .NET Aspire anymore. They rebranded it a couple of months ago, and it's just Aspire right now. Initially, you write C# to configure and host your applications, but now they are bringing TypeScript support as well, as I see on Twitter. David Fowler is one of the guys who is key guys on this. So I might open browser again later on. But so today we're gonna just do hands-on. I'm thinking to do like a live stream because it's gonna be quite fast. I don't think, and I'm gonna do copy-paste code as well. So to have Aspire, you need .NET SDK. Right now I have 8, 9, and 10, but I'm gonna use .NET dash version as I remember. We're gonna use .NET 10. With .NET CLI, which I love to use a lot, there is you can install tools for working with Entity Framework or other .NET tools. Like there's a Aspire 8. We're gonna use Aspire CLI and .NET EF tools today, and these are the versions I'm gonna use. On top of that, during this demo or building what we're gonna demonstrate at the last 1 to 30 seconds, we're gonna use initially Blazor, then we're gonna remove Blazor and we're gonna bring Angular. So we need Angular, which I have here, version 19. I think latest is 23. I broke this demo because I didn't have the latest. I had the latest, but I didn't need the latest. And then you guys need function core tools, Azure function core tools. These, because we're gonna write an Azure function as well. You don't need, but maybe I don't have it as well. You can also integrate DevTunnel directly your Aspire application. So, okay, let's write some stuff. So what we're gonna do is, where I'm the source. As you guys see, I already tried these 2 times, and both of them took around 58 minutes. So, and I'm getting late probably. So, we're gonna use Aspire CLI, as I said, and this is the Aspire CLI. We're gonna use Aspire new command, because init command is for existing projects if you wanna Aspirify it. There's also a tool called Aspirify or website. So Aspire new, I think I call it Aspire CRUD. Aspire comes with multiple templates, but you don't have to use them directly. You can have an existing project and integrate with it. We're gonna start with ASP.NET Core and Blazor that has a web API in the back and Blazor on the front end. For that, Aspire CRUD is the project name, and I'm okay with that folder structure. I'm not gonna do dev tunnels and stuff. I'm not gonna use cache for this, but you guys can have a play with it. And as all good developers, I'm not gonna create a test project. So while this is creating, which should happen pretty fast, I have my internet connection, yes. So I'm gonna open this folder on this window. And I'm gonna remove this. So this is what you have when you create a Aspire project. Normally we just choose API and Blazor, but there's extra 2 projects there. We're gonna talk about them later on. But what I want to do is, in the Aspire CLI, we had Aspire run as a command. So I'm in the project and I'm just gonna do Aspire run. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna go and run my AppHost project, which is blueprint of your project, which contains your anything that you want to host or manage in this blueprint. So there's a URL here. I'm gonna copy that, or I can probably just click this. I don't know where it's gonna open. It's open here. So let's move that to Fort Workspace and zoom in a bit. So this is Aspire dashboard. Aspire come with best practices. One of them is OpenTelemetry. So out of box, Aspire give you console logs. In this case, for our API service and front end, you have structured logs, you have traces, which we don't have anything because we didn't trigger yet. We have metrics, not enter the metrics. And there's a graph UI for having a fancy UI, like, give it to your architect. They like, and you have your URLs. So this is our web front end, Blazor, default Blazor stuff. So, but if you have done Blazor with Web API before, from this demo, you would know this weather view is calling the API project, which we can verify from this trace that is a distributed tracing out of box you have with just two command, Aspire new and Aspire run. We're gonna use this dashboard and telemetry a lot. But what I want to do now is close this as well. So what I want to show here is it's specifically used this AppHost project. Actually, you can just run that with .NET Run, but Aspire run specifically when you run wherever you are in the project, it finds where the AppHost lives and create a .aspire folder and it put the AppHost as a configuration. So whenever you do Aspire run, it automatically knows what to run. So if we look at the code a bit, this is where the magic happens. I'm going to close my GitHub Copilot window. So distributed application builder, and we just say, hey, give me API service, use this project, call it API service, give me web frontend named project with this specific project dot, and that has a reference and dependency on API service. So this specific line set up your magic strings. It's not magic string. I don't know the word right now. Service discovery is the word I'm looking for. It's set your service discovery. So when you call from front end to back end, normally you would give your local host whatever, right? You don't need to do that anymore. Connection strings are gone with Aspire. So I'm gonna prove that to you. I'm gonna run that again. Aspire run. And with this line, I'm gonna open the web project. So this is the weather API client. This is the HTTP client they use to make the API calls. And this client is registered here. And they access this HTTP client with this specific string. This API service string that they have here, HTTPS plus HTTP is the stuff. You can just do HTTPS as well. This API service, I will start using key bindings. Oops. What's happening? AppHost. This API service there on line 19 is the same name with this API service. And when you put this as a reference here, also wait for it. That means, there's a line order, right? It injects the correct values. So if we come here, we can see these two URLs injected. It is really good when you have multiple services, which we're gonna have very soon, I promise. So okay, let's start with APIs. But to do APIs, what we need to do is, so currently we have this very dumb weather forecast, right? But I want to have a, where's my README? I have a cheat sheet here, you can see. So yeah, I've done that, I've done that, done that. Okay, so another trick. So with Aspire CLI, we have a specific command called add, which is adding integration. And I want to add an SQL server as an integration. I'm going to do Aspire add. And it's going to go and search for integrations. And I'm going to do SQL server. So this is going to install the dependency for AppHost. Whatever you create in AppHost is your blueprint that also kind of can be act as your deployment artifact, not directly. But what I want to do is I forget to add Git to this project. But what I'm going to tell you is it just add this NuGet package. With this, what I can do here is in the AppHost, I can go and say a builder, add SQL server, and call it SQL. And then under that SQL, I think that's what I was doing. Let me check. The reason I'm checking is for the naming, because I'm going to use those names. SQL db dot copilot go away database, and I'm just going to call it, that was foreshadowing, I guess. Okay, so I add a NuGet package to AppHost, and I'm just going to run it. I didn't do anything with the Spire. I didn't do anything with the API service yet. So what we are doing here is, so normally I have an API service and web front end. Now I'm going to have a SQL server as a resource, and then I can inject that to API service, and then that will give me the database. Here it is. And where does it run? It runs on Docker. Oops, sorry, as you guys see here, running container is SQL server. And one more good thing, those logs we are seeing there, we can see those logs here as well. So you don't need other tools when you have Aspire. Most of the time you will need some tools like VS Code, but you don't need Docker UI anymore. So I'm gonna close this. So let's build the APIs because we are getting late. So this is, I'm gonna close all of these projects. Actually, let's do this. So I have this SQLDB resource. What I'm gonna do here is with reference this, but also it takes a while to create that resource. So do not start until SQLDB is ready. So I'm gonna prove this because it works. You can go and try it at home. On top of this, when I have this, I will have a connection string for this. I just need to add a couple of things. So I'm gonna go to API service project here. So API service, I'm not lying. I'm gonna use my key bindings. And I'm gonna install a couple of packages. One of them is normally, if you are working with Entity Framework, you would install Microsoft Entity Framework Core SQL Server, but we're gonna install Aspire NuGet package. So there's two types of NuGet package with Aspire. One that you install to your AppHost, that is for your reference resources and referencing Azure or other cloud resources. And also, when you install for your client side, which is our API right now, these are the ones that give you out-of-box telemetry, best practices, retry. So normally, when you work with SDKs, you need to read documentation for example, how to use Redis, and you need to write like 25 line of code for best thing that you want out of it. 95% of the time, as they, author of Aspire things, 95% of the time people are writing the same code. So they create a best practice thing. With this, we can just do add SQL server with database, whatever we can write, and it's just gonna do all those telemetry for us. On top of these, so I install this, but because I'm gonna run migrations, I am going to install design as well. Design NuGet package. This one you need to use SQL entity framework tool to create and run migrations. That needs to be on your project that is consuming the database context. So we're gonna go back. We don't need to install anything. Oh, sorry, that was my bad. I lied. I need to do one more thing. But before that, we're gonna change our API service. So this is our API service. This project is a bit different than your default API thing when you create like a .NET new web API. Two things is add service defaults on the builder and also map default endpoints. These give you those best practices like telemetry and stuff. And this is actually not a package. It comes as part of one of the projects that I forget to talk about, which is service defaults. These give you a bunch of extensions that you can configure for your own needs. Configure OpenTelemetry, default health checks, service discovery. Ilya loves health checks, as he loves Kubernetes. So service discovery and configure OpenTelemetry, and they give you this as a C# class because they want you to change it if you need to. I'm not going to change it today. The default is enough for me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this code a bit. So starting with the weather forecast. So we will need a proper class now. This is our weather forecast class that we're going to work with. And this is our DB context. Okay. So I'm going to put everything in one file like any good developer. So, and there's a bit problem with our endpoints. I'm going to just comment it out for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add that. So in AppHost, we reference SQLDB database that we're going to use as SQLDB. That's what we give to our API service, right? So I'm going to inject that as part of my DI. So normally what you guys were doing, probably this, what ChatGPT is telling me. But what we're going to do is this. This wrapper is the one that come out of that aspired entity framework package. So now I'm going to just create migrations. So this is creating one migration. When that is running, it's gonna create a migration folder. Why it's happening? Go. So it's going to create an initial migration. And when we run the application, we're going to see that migration. So those endpoints that I commented out, let's bring that back. It's really bad. It's a basic CRUD application, not the best practices though, so don't take this to your production. So these are our endpoints. So we have a get, getting the list, post, put, delete, and also creating a batch items. It's happening. I put my phone there. Oh yeah, that might be it. Apple is listening us all the time. So, oh, that's too much. Sorry. I want to run migrations when I run the app as well. So I'm not saying this is best practice as well, so don't do it like this. On top of that, I'm also creating a couple of objects so I can query the database with my HTTP endpoint file, whatever it is. Okay. Oh, that's bad. Sorry for that. Should we? No. You guys can hear me, right? Like this? Yeah. Yeah, sounds clear. Very clear. We use that for. I'm going to do Aspire run. I have my hand. With this, we're going to see in the logs. This API service log. So an API is waiting for SQL database to be created and linked. And when it's ready, it's going to run the migrations. So we should hopefully see it. So as you see, we can see creations and insertions and stuff. So we create 3 items. Yeah, we create 3 items. So yeah, we have like, I copy some code, of course, but we have backend, we have front end, which we are not using. We're going to remove very soon. We have a database already. Cool. Okay. So what's next is we're going to remove that web project. So everything I've done up until now is .NET, C#, but Aspire can work with other things like Python, Node.js, Go, anything. You can create a Docker container, you can run it with Aspire. That's everything unbelievable as well, but they are doing native integration. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove the SLN file and create the SLNX, but I'm not going to do it now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that web project, and I'm going to have some problems. It's one of them. You only have API. I don't remember if we need to verify. While that's happening, I'm gonna, okay, it's working. So I'm gonna open another terminal here in the same folder, and I'm gonna use Angular. I'm using Angular 19 to create an Angular project. I'm sure I call it Aspire Angular. A very lame name to that Angular project. Yeah, it's Aspire. So new Aspire Angular. Those things. It's gonna work there. While that's happening, I'm gonna do Aspire add. I'm gonna add JavaScript on my Aspire project, and then I'm gonna go to my here. Okay. It's here. Add. Oh, sorry, not Node. It was Node.js, but they changed it, so it is script normally, but something. It was VS Code. Oh, so I hope it was VS Code. Oh, because my phone is not here and I don't have internet. Normally, we should. Yeah, because I inform me about this. Just remove the project from
the solution file?
Yeah, solution file, yeah. Top level. I don't want to deal with this. So
Just need to remove the project reference, right?
It's a
Solution file.
I already removed it, but I'm going to do it up. It's a new SLM. Should do the trick. I'm just going to do .NET restore. Fix it? Yep, it's fixed. So let's open that. What I've done is I remove SLN older version of it and I add because I like. And now we should have no problem with this. So what does this do is JavaScript. Oh, that was nice. JavaScript integration is it's gonna go and install dependencies with npm and run script as a start, and it's gonna use 4200. Also, it's gonna wait for API service. So I think it will here inspire run. Should work. When I was trying yesterday at the beginning of the project, I removed SLN and just installed SLNX. Did SLNX. Okay, now we're gonna have the Angular will be available here, and it here. So quickly, what I'm gonna do is we are kind of running late probably. I'm gonna code this. So this is our Angular application. So I'm gonna create a file here, which is called the file. Proxy file I'm going to create to use. I remove this though because it's working. But we have a bug here. Original services come with Weather API or wherever I copy this from. So our one is API service. Our backend is API service. This. Then in Angular JSON, I just need to add in the serve, but we're only using it in the serve. I just need to say this is the config. Then what I'm going to do is under source app folder, everything from here, and I'm not going to write everything from scratch. I'm just going to copy everything, but I'm going to show you what I've done there. Write it myself here. Check GitHub Copilot, write it actually. So HTML and CSS is wipe coded. I didn't do much there. We have the model. Normally in production, I would auto-generate these models, but here I just use it. And this is the service. And because of the proxy file we create, it's going to use our injected environment variable as a URL for the backend. I run it. We should see a fancy UI. What I want to show also is so that the order of execution is here. So SQL database, then API, then frontend. I forget to mention the AppHost file that we have, that we put our resources and project references, the one that I say the blueprint is kind of Docker Compose. But you don't have ugly YAML. You have C#, beautiful language. So actually, Aspire team has friend don't let friend write YAML t-shirts. So normally, if you run Angular, you see this kind of output, but we don't need to go to terminal and stuff. Everything is here now. So let's see our fancy Angular page. There it is. Okay. So what we're gonna do is it's vibe coded weather forecast. Batch, late, whatever. A problem here, like it's a 5 degree, it's a 4 degree, it's saying freezing, it's 26 degree, it's saying sweltering. So like 41 degree, it's saying cool. So we're gonna write an Azure function to fix those summaries. We have unlimited resource. So what we're gonna do here is, this part is here. We did the Angular parts. So when you run Azure function, if you don't use a storage solution, it generally create one for it. So because of that, I'm just gonna go and add storage. So I can control that storage and reuse for something else in the future. And also, I'm gonna add functions, Azure functions. So before I go to the code, as I said at the beginning, we're gonna use Func CLI tool to create Azure functions as a project and things. I'm gonna copy that here. Or more details, go read the documentation. So this is gonna create a function project. Then we're gonna go function. We're gonna create a function inside. So we already have project. Because most of the people use. So these create a time trigger weather summary enricher function. Also, I'm gonna add this function to solution.net. I mean, if you use like IDE, it would be better to view with VS Code. We are using File Explorer, so it's just work probably. .NET and okay, we have done this. So now we have the function project here, and we have that function that we created already. I'm not gonna do the project heading manually. And something I haven't done and touched much is reference to service defaults. This or function itself. So we're gonna take it. The reason I'm doing this is function startup. I want to do service default builder. have a look at it later. So AppHost has referenced a function. Check it if I'm doing it right. For some reason, function name is generally, it is a problem. So normally all of our projects Spark are dot, but function name come with underscore. So that's gonna be a problem. So the project file itself. So we're gonna add a reference to that. There at function projects, but we will have things. Oh, I remember now. So this function creating with .NET 8, we need .NET 10. That was my problem for not being able to add service default. Sorry, I'm going back and forth. So when I create everything is .NET 10, but service default is .NET 10, API service is .NET 10, but function created with .NET 8. So that creates a problem. So when I fix it, it's work. Which was gonna create a problem here as well. I wasn't gonna be able to access Azure function here, but now I access. I'm gonna copy that from my code here though, because this also we didn't create storage yet, so we add a storage integration right at the beginning. So what I'm gonna do is for storage, we'll add Azure storage. Need blob containers for now. It's so in 1 hour demo, it's already got so complicated. Like engineers take weeks. Maybe. So we have Azure function, we have API service, we have Angular front end, we have SQL database, we have storage account, we can have whatever you want, actually. So while I'm here, I already inject API service as well. Why don't I go and implement the rest, right? So function. Okay, this is what we have. I'm just gonna paste this. What I'm doing here is, so I have that weather forecast model, like a DTO that I create here, which is very copy paste. And I have exactly the same thing I've done with the Angular, like a client that can call it. And I'm going to register this client. I can use in the, how I'm going to register this is really very similar how Blazor did. Is API service. Automatically will handle that. And now let's go and update that function. This is the function. Let's see if I can primary constructor. Yep, that's what I like. This and be careful here a bit. We'll have that line, and we're gonna use it. So this function just to kind of hello world, I'm going to replace it with this. I'm gonna remove some code from here. Want to get here? Okay. So what do we have here is it just goes and get all the forecast data in the database via API, and then update those summaries correctly. The reason we are having a problem here is because it's not async task. While I'm here, I'm gonna, oh, I did it as well. Oh, cancellation token, cancellation token. So now, when we run this, okay. And when we are here, we're gonna see in the traces how the function is triggered. Check. It's every 5 minutes. Let's do this to every 10 seconds. If you guys don't know, that's using cron syntax. It's timer trigger. How to start. So when okay, normally if you forget something, when you create a database, by default it creates as a Docker container, but when you do this, it tries to go and create in Azure. Run as emulator. We need to do this. When you do this, it's gonna run as an emulator. So check my account. I think I have, I don't know if I have Azure CLI here. Somewhere in the world, and Azure storage is creating, right? Great. So refresh. Right now, storage account is running on here on as I don't know, Azure, whatever you guys call it. Things, and what I want to do is go to Angular. So 27-degree racing. Okay, function is being run. We can see here in the function, it goes to API service and to we have like this beautiful view. We're gonna use this view in the next section I can do today for using OpenAI models. So what happened there is, if I refresh here, 35 degrees hot actually apparently. So that function was just fixing this one line. So okay, let's just move to GitHub models. Yes,
Is what things are running in an emulator? Is everything running in an emulator?
So
function.
Function you need a storage to run Azure functions for logs and stuff, and that's the reason that needs an emulator as a storage account. So that we are using emulator, but function is not running on that emulator. Function run with the func CLI tool as a just like .NET run.
The storage is the only exceptions.
Storage,
like the database is all running locally. And
yeah, service bus is also like you need most Azure resources. You need to say run as an emulator. In the .NET, in the Aspire documentation, it says general talk about like a real cloud resources. Then it says like how to run in an emulator.
So it's specific to Azure resources like the function and storage.
I think they have much consistency there.
Right, because the function is not declared as emulator, right?
No. Function is not. Function is declared as a project here.
And it starts as a host, right? It's a host running on 771.
All right.
It's a host, like an application running on 771 functions. Because you have that as well.
There's no.
But then it tries to go to storage to keep that timer going. So it uses storage for that, and also it uses storage for the for logs.
But
in this case, then is the storage account local?
It's
It
just
is
another
the Docker
type, so it's
container.
file system.
if I go here and run it, and if I open another thing and zoom in, bigger, so Aspire is running, you know that. Here, storage account, first one is SQL database, second one is storage. So what's happening there is actually, these are kind of like infrastructure resources that your application is dependent on, and you are running them mostly on containers locally. Like if you have this project, you would run this piece. I need to this piece as like from like a multiple like terminal. You would write like, you know, .NET run, function run, whatever, and ng serve, and then probably you would create a Docker Compose file for the database and storage account, right? Aspire let you, I mean, you could create a Docker Compose file and run everything from there, but you need to build and create Docker file plus Docker Compose. This does that for you. It can work with Docker as well. Like you can, if you have a Docker image, like for example, if there's a language that is not supported natively, and let's say Haskell, I don't know if it is natively, but if you create a Docker file for that, you can reference that with Docker file. So builder Docker file is, and also you can add container, I guess, container. So you can say, bring me this container and run it, or yeah, so that's an explanation. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think the answer was quite good. The back. So the Azure Functions is declared as a project,
Yeah,
which just runs on a port.
Mhm.
And then the storage account is truly a cloud resource. So you need to mark it as an emulator, otherwise it doesn't know.
Yeah.
The service bus, maybe it's the same. It'd be like run in an emulator.
But SQL for SQL Server,
But that's not an Azure resource, right? It's
yes, because of that. So we are doing Azure storage. That's probably the reason. For Cosmos, you need an emulator as well, and Cosmos is not Azure as. So yeah, for Azure, like specific cloud resources, they might have that, but I don't think if there's a consistency or not, and maybe there is one. So, but what we're gonna do now is, I'm gonna close this. So we're gonna add GitHub models. So we're gonna get a description for that weather because the summary is not enough. Aspire add GitHub models. The integration is better. So GitHub models are free if you guys don't know, but it comes with the limitations like that word, they limit how much you use it. So I'm gonna add a GPT-4o because I don't wanna get rate limited by GPT-5. And I'm gonna add this chat reference to GPT model. My function app. Reference and wait for it. So while doing this, I give the connection string or whatever that needs to connect model to Azure function. But Azure function need to also need some packages for this to work. So for that, package do we use? Do you guys know? Well, you would know. You did some AI stuff, right? We did that. So we're gonna add a pre-release version of AI inference, but we're gonna use not directly Azure AI inference. We're gonna use Aspire version, so we can can directly reference with the service discovery as well. So I'm going to go back, update my function. So here, we have some stuff here. I'm going to add very small class here. That class, what it does is take a weather forecast object and create a description for it. So this work with chat clients coming from Microsoft Extensions AI. And I'm using Logger Factory, injected it. So what it does actually here is I have a prompt. This. So I have a prompt and I'm like, get a response for this prompt, actually basic chat stuff. So to do this, I need a chat client. Where am I going to get that? Is coming from that package that we had. I copy paste because we're running out of time. Already out of time, right? So with this line, I'm saying, give me Azure Chat Completion Client capabilities, and I'm saying, give me that as an iChat client. That will be the interface that I'm expecting, and this is my DI for the thing. So because of rate limiting and all other stuff, here I am not gonna call for all the objects in case I have too many objects, because I'm gonna rate limit it. So I'm gonna count. Here, after summary is updated, I'm just doing this. So I'm like, describer, give me the, describe this thing, describe the description, describe this forecast. But we don't have describer here, so. Okay, so now, what's gonna happen there is, it's gonna say, oh, we need some stuff. Yeah. So I'm accessing GitHub models, right? But GitHub models, sorry, not this. I need a key here. So to use GitHub models, go GitHub and go to settings. We go to developer settings. You create a personal access token. Fine range one. I already created one. I'm going to show how to do it. I have two-factor authentication because I'm a good engineer. So I'm gonna do custom expiry tomorrow. So repository access should be public, and from model permission, we just model create a token. So I'm gonna show one more thing with Aspire right now. Okay, so this is unresolved parameter, right? So you enter the value, put key here. By default, it's set as a secret, right? So when you save this to user secrets, it's gonna go and use Visual Studio or .NET Project's user secret feature. and set it there so you don't need to set it again. So yeah, I should be have everything running right now. So I'm gonna go here, and I have some description here. Searching, but I don't care about that. I want to show up here. So here we have a function calling API service that's calling SQL and then calling chat. And they bring this feature a couple of months ago. If you have this icon, see what's happening with the LLM. You can see details, you can see duration, how token number, whatever, you know. Cool. I thought I wouldn't be able to finish on time, which I didn't. But at least I could finish the presentation. Yeah. Okay, now I need to find that PDF. So thank you again coming. That was end of the presentation. I know you guys are tired. I'm thinking to do like a live stream of this, way more slower and like more chatting. I don't know. If you guys don't follow me, you can follow on LinkedIn, so we can communicate from there. Or if you have any question, I will share the code on LinkedIn because I don't have any secrets there. Because Aspire, we don't need any secrets, so you just don't. So
Nice one.
any questions?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the secret. Is it like the environment? When you say like the API is saved into stored into secret, does it have like an environment like .env?
Yeah, something like that. But
Okay.
if I open that solution as a solution explorer,
Yeah.
So AppHost is where we set that secret. So manage user secrets. But if you see,
Okay.
what happened there is AppHost project. AppHost project here has a user secret ID.
Yeah.
That is referenced that other file, this thing that GUI is matching.
Yeah.
I have like so on my computer it's saved here, and also with the things I don't need to set any connection string. It's like, you know, automatically handled for me. If you use it correctly, of course you can hard code it there.
Yeah.
But if you do that, I can't stop you, right? You know, Microsoft can't do anything about that. They would cannot do it. We would hate you, but you know, that's your problem, not our problem. I shouldn't show my secret.
Damn.
Yeah.
So we're running this locally and it's spinning up a whole bunch of Docker containers. Can you speak a little bit to how we would go from here to production?
Yes. I don't have much time about that, but normally if it's a greenfield project, what you could do is, so Aspire CLI help you on that. Aspire CLI has, if you have Azure Developer CLI installed and Azure CLI is installed, you can use publish and deploy tools in the CLI to literally just deploy to any environment. If you have experience with Azure Developer CLI, you can have template projects with environments. You can create multiple environments and you can directly deploy them. And by default, Aspire deploy to container app environments, something like that.
That's deploying just the application or all that other infrastructure?
It does everything for you. So I have a demo, I think on YouTube we did. I talk about Azure Developer CLI and Aspire. So Aspire with Azure Developer CLI, they work really well. It can give you Terraform, it can give you Bicep for your infrastructure because you already have the blueprint, right? And creating blueprint is not hard after that. It can create that blueprint. For CI/CD pipeline, it just do AZD up and deploy something like that. But yeah, you can just deploy from here. So Aspire is not just developing locally; it's developing and deploying and monitoring. That I think it was September Azure user group. We have a recording on YouTube, and I'm doing that as a demo. Yeah. So
API. How does the token work? Is it free for a certain number of requests per day?
it is rate limited, and it is GitHub models I'm using there, and it's free. So, but it's rate limited, so you can't do like a production deployment. As soon as you go real things like Azure OpenAI, that's what I generally use because Microsoft consultancy, Microsoft, it's used from there. So
And is it possible to integrate with a locally hosted model
yes,
for security?
yes.
Purposes?
There's a Foundry local that work with it. It work with Azure OpenAI anything. So you combine. I'm talking about C# perspective. I mean, the one that I integrate here was specifically GitHub models, but you can integrate with Foundry or anything else. Or if you don't have anything like that as a first class citizen, you can create, this is what I'm doing in the morning actually. You can create here in the builder parameters. Your connection string can come as a parameters, and then you pass those parameters to your application. Still, if you can't leverage the direct first-party, first-class integration, you can at least use the service discovery and stuff, and still save those in key vaults. They'll deploy key vault as well, by the way. Forgot to mention that. And that does answer your question. What I can do is. That's what I want. So these are all the integrations they have. So for artificial intelligence, they have GitHub model. Olama is mostly used, I guess, locally, OpenAI. So you can build your custom integration, the best practices, cloud providers, AWS and Azure, caching, compute, yeah, everything. They even do .NET MAUI here. That's what I'm doing Ionic here. I'm running Angular, Ionic, and all my resources on my side projects. And these are other frameworks, and it goes like, I would definitely. I think if you have like a more than one application, as far as no-brainer, even if you have like a front end and back end, I think it's no-brainer. That's what I'm telling in every presentation. There was a question there.
Yeah, I just want to ask a little bit more on deployment. When you said you can use Azure Developer CLI, so you set up all the infrastructure as code, and then you do Aspire deploy?
Aspire. So when you have Aspire CLI, you don't use Aspire CLI, you just use, I can just do it in a sec. So AZD is very good with Aspire. As soon as you do AZD in the Aspire project, it will find where is it, and it's gonna, it's like, hey, I take this. Are you happy with this? Environment name. Say Davins. And as you guys see, it creates, because I need to do a couple of others. It creates Azure.yaml. That Azure.yaml is AZD's own thing. If you guys have experience, like creating Azure Developer CLI, AZD templates. On top of that, it can. I probably have some problem there out of date and things, but it can generate your I need to update probably my exit. Oh, okay, sorry. Let's see. So you can create infrastructure resources like a Bicep and AAC, Terraform. Of course, Bicep first isn't. But when you Bicep creates good stuff, if I'm not remembering wrong. But for the pipeline, when you create a pipeline with ADT, generally do like ADT up and deploy in a just GitHub Actions or Azure DevOps YAML file. So it's not the best. It was the first version, I guess. But yeah, I did a deployment in live demo here in 20 minutes, and it works. But we just did a API, Blazor, and Redis as a cache, like the default project. So I can't answer everything. You need to read the
Thank you.
documentation.
That was helpful. That was good.
So it's reading the AppHost, that big program CS file to figure out what infra to deploy.
Kind of. I don't know the design. I think go read the AZT code was under the hood, but AZT itself is a huge thing. Like I was impressed how AZT works. Like I think learning a new thing like Cosmos DB or something, you go and get an AZT example of it and just run it and learn it and see how infrastructure is created. There's AZT give developers a lot of templates apparently, so I wasn't too aware of it. Like landing zones and stuff you can do, I guess. Any other question? Yeah.
Can we just pop in this up Docker?
I think so. Yeah, you can. As support for that.
I have a question about API controller. Like seems like you don't have to do like dependency injection in Aspire. Does it mean that I don't have to write like look?
No, you do dependency injection.
Okay.
You do. Aspire prevent you to having localhost 4200 or 3100 kind of like local strings. You don't use magic strings.
Yeah.
With Aspire. Aspire handle that for you when you deploy. Actually, I mean, it is I show, I guess, in the environment variable, it's set that what you need to set yourself. It set that for you. But in the Aspire and API controller are two different things. API controller is like a .NET thing, and there is I'm doing dependency injection. I was using minimal APIs here. Because of that, I didn't do much there, but you would get a controller or like a fast endpoint or something. That's a whole different story. Maybe next month. Another question?
Are the emulated resources when we deploy going to be actual resources?
It's gonna be actual resource, it's not gonna, unless you explicitly ask it to deploy Docker containers or like Docker files. If you have, it will deploy that. But if you say Azure SQL Server, it will deploy Azure SQL Server. So, I mean, long story short, that AppHost is your blueprint, and it's very powerful.
Right.
Anything else? Okay. Thanks, Dorinko. My lovely company. I love working there. Thanks to Microsoft. They were not there, we wouldn't be able to do it. Please leave these things, plastic things, paper in it at the lobby. Again, if you guys want to talk, you know, if you guys are interested in subjects, I would make a talk because you have to learn for the talk. That's how I learned AZT. So feedback about the meetup. You guys have any recommendations, either here or reach me out through LinkedIn. I'm on GitHub as well, like any other developer. And that's the last slide. So it was CLI heavy presentation. Nobody else, but I'm using Omarchi here. So it's an art Linux. All right. So we are done. Sorry. Yeah, we are going now. I need to.
By the way, I use it.
I'm just gonna close the call, right?
I use ours.
I use it. I didn't know that was a joke.
Should I just hang up the phone?
Yeah.
The phone here? Quick. Inbound.